Marilyn Cox, 29 years, one of the members of our church. Her daughter's married in our church. She has been a chalice bearer, Eucharistic minister. She's brought the communion to people in hospitals and in their homes, etc., when needed. She's known for her spirituality and her caring. And I think it's going to take about four people to step up and replace her when she goes. I'm told in March, mid-March maybe, they'll be making the trip down for the last time to move. And she's going to be hard to replace. This introduction doesn't do her justice because of the worth that she's been to us and to this church over so many years. So I'm going to let her fill you in with the rest of the story.
Thank you. I'd like to start with another poem, this one by William Stafford. And it's called The Way It Is. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread. But it is hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen. People get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you can do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. So I would like you to see the thread of my life. And to make this even more vivid, I have a thread. And this thread will come out this far, and it starts with Neanderthal. We had our DNA read, and it happens that most people have 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA in their being. And mine, they pointed out, was exceptionally high, 3.7%. And how does that show itself in me, Berlin? In my height. That's as much as I know. But I thought that's a wonderful fact. 3.7%. So that is way, way back in the beginning of my thread. So now we will fast forward to the 1860s when my ancestors, immigrated from Prussia to Illinois, or as my family always said out in Idaho, Illinois. My great-grandmother Clara was 13 years old when she came to the United States with her father, mother, and brothers and sisters. Then in the 1880s, after she had married Robert Jackson, they took a train, and in fact they put their covered wagon and the oxen and all of their household goods on the train in Illinois, and they took the train across country until they reached Winnemucca, Nevada. And there they got off the train, they took their oxen and their covered wagons and all their household goods. And her brother, who lived up in Oregon, had ridden from Oregon down to Nevada and helped them trek up to Oregon. And later, when property opened in Idaho for homesteading, then they moved across the Columbia River and went to Idaho, Midvale, Idaho, which is the little tiny town that I know about and that I've done paintings of. Then in 1943, I was born. One of the interesting things that I remember somebody telling me, probably the lady who took care of me from time to time, she said, that Verlyn, she can really color. She is such a little artist. So you think of those things, you think of the words you tell children, and they believe it. And so all the time growing up, of course, I can color, and I can stay in the lines. At that point, that was very important. And then I became known for drawing horses. I was crazy about horses. Then, in the 1960s, I went to Boise Junior College, and that's where I met this guy, but he might not remember it. I was in the auxiliary of the Red Cross, and every Friday, when I was a freshman and sophomore at the junior college, we would wear our black sheath dresses, big white collars, a big picture hat made out of chicken wire, and a blood drop that hung down. And it was the ultimate of being cool. And so we had a blood drive, and I asked this guy, well, would you like to give blood? And he said, well, I will if you will. Well, I didn't weigh enough. I think you had to weigh at least 100 pounds, and I wasn't quite there. And I was just as happy to be under 100 pounds. Then we went down to, when I went to Idaho State University in Pocatello, Idaho. Have you heard of that? No. Good. And that's where I met this guy again for the second time. And we became a number, and later we got married. We got married at St. Michael's Episcopal Church in Boise, and we got married the day after Christmas.
Is his name Blaine?
This guy is Blaine himself. And I will say, one of the very first things that I thought was so wonderful about him was when he smiled, he had a gold tooth. He still has it, same one. The thing about getting married in the Episcopal Church, Blaine was Roman Catholic, and I was a Lutheran, and so we both became Episcopalians, the Bridge Church. And we've been very happy in our decision all of these years. We then went to Salt Lake City, where Blaine got his MBA at the University of Utah, and then we moved to Chicago. And this was the very first time I had ever been past Colorado. Everything out in Idaho, in my opinion, is the color of these chairs. Beige, 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 beige. And it was the first time I had seen beautiful green fields and red barns. Loved it. Our move to Chicago, Blaine had a job with Borg Warner Corp. Well, in 1967, and it seems to me I was in labor with our first child. Maybe that's why I remember this so vividly. But Blaine said, Verlin, if I die and you get married again, who are you going to be buried next to, me or your second husband? That became a theme in our marriage, and you'll find out more about it later. In 1967 and 1971, our daughters were born, Kristen and Rachel. You can see this thread of life.
Take it further back.
There. That's as far as we want to go right
Okay,
now.
all right.
In 1972, when Rachel was just a year old, we were transferred to Brussels, Belgium. And Blaine's job there was working, tell me more.
Working.